Hi Virgos, welcome to your July 2019 Astrology 33 reading. We have a Celtic cross spread in front of us, as always, which is normally a 10 card spread, but you guys got some extra cards there. And then we also have a couple of oracle cards that we'll read through to tie everything together at the end of the reading, and also a mudra card, so quite a bit to get to. And also, before I forget, for those of you who are interested in booking a personal reading with me, following me on Instagram, or donating to the channel, just check out the description of the video for more info on all that. All right, let's get started with your main spread. So, in the main situation position, you guys got the Three of Swords and 10 of Cups in reverse. So, as it is, people tend to immediately jump to a relationship ending when they see the Three of Swords. I don't always necessarily jump there, but obviously with the 10 of Cups in reverse, it makes it kind of hard to avoid that, right? So what this could represent is definitely could be an ending of a relationship for some of you. We've had this aspect going on for a while now where Neptune in your seventh house has been squaring Jupiter on your fourth house. So, that could have been what brought this about, quite frankly. And, I'm recording this in the middle of June. And basically, what's going to happen is Neptune, towards the end of June, is actually going to go into retrograde motion. So, what can happen when you get that aspect is actually sometimes it will help clear a fog. So, what it could even just represent, if not a physical ending of a relationship, could just represent the ending of your idealized vision of what a relationship could be. Now I'll just put this in the upright while we talk about it, because what I do say with the Ten of Cups is, on the surface, it definitely is a positive overall message for a relationship dynamic, but at the same time, if you look at it too, there is that possibility for some naivete with the, you know, cups in the rainbow, and it's a Piscean energy with a lot of Neptune influence going on there. So that could definitely be what it represents as well. Just as far as you guys just might have had this vision of what a relationship was, and then maybe you're just seeing it from a more realistic standpoint this month. Maybe that's what's at play there. For others of you, it could certainly be an actual ending to a relationship. If that's the case, it looks like it might have been one that was going on for a while, given that we do have a Ten of Cups there, right? And there's possibly even a family involved. So definitely sorry to hear that if that is what's going on for some of you, but that's what I'm seeing. Or it could just represent someone that you've known for a long time. And, because, if I look at the way that they're dressed, it's very similar to the way the adults are dressed. So it could just be maybe someone you've had a thing for a really long time, and maybe now you get some kind of news. Maybe you never really let them know that you had feelings for them, but you just always thought in the back of your mind, oh, we're gonna end up together someday, and maybe you find out that they're actually in another relationship, for example. That's just one example that comes to mind. In the challenger obstacle position, we have the King of Cups. So there's a few ways this could play out. This is a court card for Scorpio, so some of you, this could be a Scorpio that you were dealing with. Could be any water sign, especially, technically that card. Ten of Cups is a Piscean card, and then we also have Cancer there, so it could definitely be a water sign of any water sign, basically. But the other things that I look at with this too is figure out, okay, well, Scorpio's ruled by Pluto. So what's Pluto doing for you guys this month? And it's in your fifth house, and it's actually going to be pretty much conjunct that full moon lunar eclipse that we're going to have around the middle of July. So that could definitely be when that might happen, when that ending might take place for some of you. And then from there, I'll also look at your eighth house because, Scorpio is the natural ruler of the eighth house. And we have Chiron there too. So that could also cause some, wounds that get brought up for healing. And then if we look at Scorpio in relation to Virgo, that's actually your third house. So this could be a result of some harsh communication or lack thereof. The King of Cups is a fixed energy. Sometimes it could come off a bit closed off, shut off, and so maybe that could even be what causes it. Again, like I said, especially that scenario I brought up where maybe you've had feelings for someone for a long time, but you never let them know that, right? So there you go with that, holding back on communication. And then maybe that's what ends up happening. You never really tell them how you feel. Then the next thing you know, you find out that they're in another relationship, and the idealized vision you had in your mind for what would happen between the two of you goes out the window. All right. In the foundation position, we have the Queen of Cups and the Five of Swords. So, like I was saying before, this is technically a court card for Cancer. So, this is another one where we could say, well, this could just be pointing to the timeline, the fact that we're going to have a lot of Cancerian energy going on through July. There's going to be that new moon eclipse very early on in the month. Mercury is going to actually go into Leo briefly, but then it's going to retrograde back into the sign of Cancer. So that could cause some situations like this as well. You had Mars there pretty much for a while. It's going to be moving into Leo right at the start of July, but if this was something that already took place, that also could have been what was going on, because Mars made some pretty harsh aspects while it was moving through the sign of Cancer. Like I said, I'm recording this mid-June, so it pretty much was just making that opposition with Saturn at the time I'm recording this. It's going to make the opposition with Pluto next, so definitely some tense energies there. And then if we also look at the fact that for you guys, Cancer, is the natural ruler of the fourth house, and your fourth house is Sagittarius, and there's actually going to be a full moon coming up. Well, actually, it's happening nowish. The full moon in your fourth house at the time I'm recording this, so that could also be what brings this out. But this energy is definitely an energy of, you know, petty conflicts. Usually, it's related to ego. It's those I always say to people, it's that type of argument you go into where you know nothing productive is going to come out of it, but you still do it anyway. So that's mainly where the ego comes in, and you get that person who feels like they walked away, like they were the victor, but okay, really there's no winners there. And what I always mention to people when I see this on the same, in the same spread with the Three of Swords, let me just grab that card again. With these two cards together, what always sticks out to me is I think about the progression. After the Three of Swords, you have the Four of Swords, which is an image of a person that seems to be healing. They're just laying back and resting. We see the Three Swords up on the wall, right? Like, that makes me visualize them removing those swords and just healing properly. Whereas with the Five, we see those Three Swords again. This guy's holding Three Swords. Why the hell would you be holding Three Swords? That's not going to help you win the fight any better. It's going to, if anything, it's going to hinder you to carry all three of those swords to try to fight someone. So I always view those as the Three Swords that we see right here. So what I always try to remind people and, use it as a warning is to say that, this could end up being the result of you convincing yourself that you've healed from a heartbreak, but you really haven't. You're still carrying those Three Swords with you, and then what could end up happening is, you're convinced that you're over it, but you're really not. But all that's going to end up happening is you end up wounding the people around you in the process. So something to keep in mind there. Again, not accusing you guys of anything, and obviously it's not going to be how the energy plays out for everyone, but I always feel compelled to point that out when I see those two cards together, and they're in pretty significant spots in the spread, so it was definitely worth mentioning there. And again, another thing with this Queen of Cups energy too that I point out when I see it in this deck in particular is it's the only one of the cup cards where the cup is completely closed off too. So that's another thing that you could point to, maybe someone who hasn't healed from a heartbreak. They're closed off. And then that could end up causing these types of dynamics to play out. So, you guys do have, well, you basically still have Mars in your 12th house right now. It's going to be moving, well, no, excuse me, it's going to be moving into your 12th house right at the start of July. So, maybe that's when you're really going to be looking at those issues for resolution. Like I said, Mercury's going to start its retrograde there. It's going to go back into Cancer, but then eventually it'll move back direct through your 12th house sometime in August, I believe. So, yeah, something to keep in mind there. In the past position, we have the Judgment card, the Nine of Pentacles, and the Seven of Pentacles. So, it's a few different ways this could be playing out. First and foremost, the Judgment card is, again, to me, it's more Scorpio energy. Like I always say, the Death card is obviously a Scorpio card, but we often hear Scorpio in 8th house referred to as death and rebirth. Obviously, the Death card speaks for itself. I always view the Judgment as the rebirth side of that energy. So this could just say that something came back around from the past. Now, this obviously could have been related to relationships, but this is also a Virgo card. It's the middle 10 degrees of Virgo, so for those of you who have your placements in the middle 10 degrees, maybe this resonates for you a bit more. But to me, what I feel like is if it's something that came back around, maybe this is saying that you gave it a shot, right? Because this is, to me, very much a single woman energy or male, doesn't matter, but that single energy. Maybe someone came back around for a second chance, right? I mean, you guys did have earlier this year, Mercury was retrograde in your 7th house, and that definitely could have brought back an old relationship. So, maybe you decided to give it another shot because maybe you guys had had a long history together, but then you ended up right back at that feeling again, like, okay, this connection might be more trouble than it's worth, right? So maybe that's what ended up happening there. If this is more of a timeline, this card here represents the last 10 degrees of Taurus. So this even could have been someone coming back around from, let's say, around mid-May. Maybe that's what's going on there. Or maybe even that Scorpio full moon that we had as well last month. That could be what that's also pointing to. What's interesting, though, with all the stuff that we've been talking about is in the present position, you guys have the Sun card. So this is a really positive card. To me, it represents, being re-energized, and maybe this is just saying that, you know, maybe this is energy you were already dealing with coming into the month, and then, as the month actually kicks off, you might be moving past it already with the Sun card there. I'm not sure I'm necessarily feeling that, and that actually, quite frankly, for some of you, it might be the other way around, where given that this is the present position, this could just be saying that very early in the month you might be feeling this way, but then that, Three of Swords situation might come out throughout the month. So, like I said, maybe even during the time of that full moon eclipse in your 5th house. Just an example. And speaking of 5th house, the Sun actually is the natural ruler of the 5th house, too. So we see that play out there as well. This could represent someone coming into your life as well. Maybe someone, an old connection, someone that you just feel a very natural connection with. They might make you feel like a kid almost, like just very playful energy. They make you feel happy. You don't feel like you have to put in any effort with them. You feel like you could just be yourself, relaxed. You're very comfortable with them. That could certainly be what this is pointing to. But I mean, honestly, maybe we'll figure it out as we go along. I'm not quite sure how I see that fitting into the spread as a whole. It's interesting placement, actually. I mean, there is the fact that the Sun will be moving into the sign of Leo towards the end of the month, but this is the present position, so I don't necessarily see it pointing to that either. So maybe you guys, I don't know, hopefully that sticks out to you guys in some way, but it does seem a bit odd with the overall vibe of the spread so far. Like I said, maybe we'll figure it out as we keep going. Or I will, I should say. In the near future position, we have the Nine of Wands. So to me, this is just being on guard. This is after the Eight of Wands too, so again, maybe a lot of communication came in for you, or maybe even just replaying something in the past in your head that has you on guard. This is an energy of strength. There is that on the more positive side. It's a Sagittarius card. To me, it's a mixture of Jupiter and the Sun energy. And we're not really going to have Jupiter trining the sun this month either. That'll be next month. So to me, this is more just an energetic thing. And like I said, they're looking right at that Three of Swords and the Ten of Cups in reverse. So this could just be saying that, you're still recovering from that. Now, this is, at least to me, it's a more positive manifestation of recovering energy than that Five of Swords that we saw there as well, obviously. So, this could just be you just really focusing on that. And quite frankly, what this could point to once again is I'm drawn now thinking about it to that full moon in Sagittarius. Maybe that's what's really at play. That full moon could definitely be significant for some of you. So like I said, I'm basically recording this at the time of the full moon. So for those of you who watch this video right when I post it, you might have just experienced that. But yeah, that's really what's standing out to me. And then also the fact that Jupiter moving through those degrees of Sagittarius is actually squaring Neptune in your seventh house too. So again, maybe that's actually energetically too what brought some of this energy out. All right, in the position of your influence on the situation, we have the Ten of Swords. So this is actually a card that represents the last 10 degrees of Gemini. And at the time I'm recording this, we're technically in those degrees too. So again, once again, this is really making me think that something significant is happening for you guys with that full moon in Sag. So I don't know, maybe this is just really pointing to that timeline. Now, keep in mind this is your influence on the situation, so it does make it at least seem that it might have been you guys who did end the situation. And you know what? To be fair, that could be why you're in the sun energy. Maybe for some of you, this was just a matter of you viewing a connection more realistically now. Like I said, maybe that Neptune fog got lifted for you and you started to see a connection for what it really was and decided that it just wasn't for you anymore, right? So yeah, even though it might hurt initially when you go through that, especially if you had those projections for it in your mind, maybe there's that relief that comes with it afterwards, right? And maybe that's why you're in the sun energy. That's at least a possibility where, since this is and the position of your influence on the situation, it could be you guys who decided to end the connection, not someone ending it with you. And I mean, that dynamic could suck either way, whether you're the one doing the dumping or being dumped. But that's at least what I'm starting to see more now. Is it might actually be you guys who were the ones who decided to end things. And then in the position of the environment's influence on the situation, we have the Seven of Wands. So this could be that same person, this could be them putting up a fight. Maybe you decided to walk away from them and they might just really be persistent in trying to say, hey, for example, maybe, I don't know, you thought they cheated on you or something, right? And that might have been why you decided to end things. And they might be defending themselves like, no, I really didn't do that, So they might just be a lot of discussion around that, and quite frankly, that wouldn't surprise me. Like I said, there's some crazy stuff going on with Mercury in July. It's going to square Uranus at the end of the first week, and then go retrograde. And obviously, we know retrogrades could cause all kinds of communication mishaps as well. So really, that could be what it is. Maybe you break things off with someone because you think that they're doing something when they're really not. Um, and that's, with that Jupiter and Neptune square, that could definitely bring that out too. And then what might end up happening is with Neptune going in retrograde, maybe that might lift that fog for you. Maybe you start to see things for what they really were. So, for example, if they are telling the truth and they didn't actually do what you thought they did that caused you to end things, maybe you'll get some enlightenment on that. In the position of the hopes or fears, we have the Ace of Pentacles. So I'm going to assume this is a hope, and this could just be you just hoping to start over, basically. Like I said, if you've gone through this, now that could play out two ways, meaning start over with someone totally different. If, you did have reason to end the connection and they just weren't, you just didn't see any more future growth potential with the connection. Maybe that's you just wanting to start over with a new person. Or for some of you, if it is where you really did goof and you ended up falsely accusing someone of something and overreacting in some kind of way, you could just be hoping to start back up with them. Now, in the outcome position, we have the moon card. So, this is another thing that's interested me. Well, for starters, sometimes this is referred to as a Pisces card, and I don't necessarily agree with that. But I do have to point out that given what we were talking about with that Neptune confusion, and that this technically is referred to as a Pisces card sometimes, this could just be pointing to that again. So for some of you, it could play out one of two ways, where you had this idealized version of someone all this time, and now with that Neptune fog lifting, you realize that they're not really, that's not a very realistic outlook that you had. And then because of that, that might have been why you decided to end things. For others of you, it could play out another way where, because of that Neptune fog, you might have made some kind of a rash decision to end something and then realize that, oh, actually, it turns out you weren't seeing things clearly. And lastly, like I said, I'm really feeling that for a lot of you, something significant might have happened during that Sagittarius full moon that we're experiencing now at the time I'm recording this. And then this could also point to that full moon lunar eclipse in your fifth house of Capricorn, because like I said, that's going to be with Pluto. So with the Scorpio energy on the table, that could be a significant one for you guys too. So something to keep in mind there. And what I say with the moon, at least when it's in the upright, I'm not one of the readers who tends to see it as a card of deception, as far as, at the hands of another person. It could just usually be sometimes we're not seeing things clearly. Like if you're in an unfamiliar room and it's dark, right? If you're trying to move around in that room, you're not familiar with where everything is to where you could just move through freely. So you might have to feel your way through, make sure you don't bump into anything. Similar dynamic with the moon. It's like, to me, you just have to feel a situation out a little bit more. And I should mention, too, at the bottom of the deck, you guys have the Star card. So this is definitely a pretty positive card to have as the underlying theme. There's nothing really going on in Aquarius right now, technically. But what I would say, really, is this could just be a necessary growth process that you guys have to go through, because to me, the Star card comes after the Tower card. So I see this as a dissolution of ego. So, for those of you, again, we did have that Five of Swords energy. The Sun technically can play out as ego, even though I don't necessarily get that vibe when it's in the upright, but it could point to ego. Maybe there's some ego problems that you guys were having, for lack of a better word, and with that full moon eclipse in your fifth, maybe that's helping clear some of that out for you guys, and you could actually get that course correction you need. All right, so we'll look at your oracle cards next. The first one you guys got is Orphaned. There's the artwork for it, and the number is 5. So, ironically, we were just talking about fifth house. You definitely have some significance there, but let's read the message from the book. Another sign got that this month, too. I can't remember who it was. It might have been maybe one of the water signs. Don't quote me on that, though. All right, essential meaning says a sense of loss, an identity crisis, recognizing that you don't fit in, the need to belong, uncertainty about your place. The oracle's message: we were all meant to have connections with other people, with our families, society, and the larger culture. No man is an island, and it's important to recognize when being a part of, rather than separate from, is essential to your well-being. The issue at hand is the need to find where you fit. Be true to your core truths and values. Perhaps you no longer identify with a group or a community the way you did before and need to find a new situation. You might be feeling a deep sense of loss or confusion. Address the need for belonging and know that you will find your place with others of like mind and spirit. It's okay to let go of pressure to fit in. Not everyone will understand you. It's time to move on. So that's interesting there as far as, like I was really picking up more of a relationship vibe for your spread, but it could just be in general, with that Ten of Swords there. Maybe it is you deciding to move on from a group that you might feel that you've outgrown. That's certainly a possibility. And it could even be family. With that Ten of Cups in reverse, that can represent family in general, even though we do tend to think about uh, relationships immediately with that dynamic. If you think about it, there is a whole family there. So, and that full moon I keep referring to in Sag is your fourth house too. So definitely something with family could have came up in that regard. All right, the relationship message says, as you shift and evolve and commit to your own growth, you long for support but may be disappointed and hurt by others who are not providing what you feel you deserve. Perhaps you are drifting away from this relationship because you're in a different stage of personal growth. Perhaps you are in a new relationship and discovering that you don't share the same values and beliefs, so you feel left out, unable to get to that intimate place of safety and belonging. Take heart, as Spirit knows you and loves you and will steer you in the direction of those who accept you as you are without artifice or agenda. Don't compromise yourself to belong. It won't be worth the price. So, another repeating theme there for the most part, but hopefully you guys got something out of that as well. The prosperity message says this card reminds you that you can't be all things to all people. You are not going to be popular with everyone, and that has to be okay with you. Be clear about your mission, your brand, your work persona, and your contribution to the world, as they must be based on what you authentically have to offer, not something you think will sell or you perceive they may want. You will attract abundance by being completely yourself. Stay in your own lane. That's where you will shine and where you will experience prosperity. So, like I said, unfortunately, I didn't get a huge vibe there of, finances in the spread, but hopefully you guys got something from that message as well. I mean, overall, the theme here seems to be about authenticity, so never a bad time to embrace that energy. All right, and then the second oracle card you guys got from the Spirit Animal Oracle deck is Spider Spirit. It says, make your dreams real. There's the artwork for it, and the number for that is 56. All right, let's see what this has to say. All right, the oracle message says, weaving your dreams into the fabric of life begins with a single thread of intention, and then Spirit joins you as your co-weaving partner. Take but a single step to make your dream a reality, and Spirit will take 10 toward you, for the universe is designed to support your dream weaving. Spider Spirit arrives when you need reminding of the awesome power of co-creation with Spirit. Ideas and resources will begin to appear as if by magic as you begin to bring your dreams from the realm of intention into the world of senses where they take form. The action you need to take is to be clear about your intentions and then act as if you have become the one that lives the life you desire. The web of creation has an uncanny way of coming together to weave the beautiful pattern you set in motion. Another message of Spider Spirit is about any creative project you may be considering. Writing, painting, music, gardening, etc. I think I just made up my own word there. Now is the time when inspiration wants to be channeled through you as something creative, even artistic and tangible. Creative projects are successful now, if you are so inclined. Let yourself be open to abundance. All right, so hopefully you guys got something positive from that message as well. And then the last thing we have to look at is a mudra card. So for those of you who don't know, I've been pulling mudra cards for all the signs this year, and basically mudras are hand gestures that you make while meditating. You hold them for usually a minimum of 5 minutes, sometimes up to a half hour, 45 minutes, but if you're not someone who normally meditates, 5 minutes will be fine. And their purpose is to help clear blockages, sometimes actual physical blockages, but mostly more in an emotional and mental sense. And the one that you guys got for this month, the name of this one here is the Shakata mudra. And the keyword for it there is deliverance. So I'll just flip the card over so you can get some additional info on it. All right, so that way if you guys wanted to pause it or take a screenshot, you can. And you see under benefits, it says strengthens the immune system, facilitates breathing in the lower lobes of the lungs, improves concentration, benefits the large intestine. So if you guys think that's something that would benefit you for this month, I will put the name of that in the actual description of the video as well. But we'll wrap up there, guys, and I'll see you all next month. All right, bye.